Heard on Thursdays with Nikki is about to go live online. Catch HOT, the iconic radio show that made Philippine FM radio talk, every Thursday on the Monster.
Streaming video on the Monster Facebook page at RX931, the Monster YouTube channel at RX931, and twitch.tv/Monster RX931.
You heard on Thursday's host, Nikki Porter. Stand by and enjoy the program.
Hey monsters, good evening. Yes, you heard it. It is Nikki Porter once again for more hot conversations on Heard on Thursdays, that show that made FM radio talk, only on summer's hottest, Monster RX93.1. So, how are you this week? Monsters? You good? You coping? All right, we got this. So it's election week 2022, or should I say post-elections week, because it all unfolded last Monday. And it's been a very challenging period, to say the least, a very stressful time for many voters, such as you, many of whom were voting for the very first time and sometimes waiting so long just so that they can get their votes in. So the campaign season has affected, if not infected, many a relationship, let's be honest, within the family, amongst friends, inside companies, even between lovers and spouses. So whether your favored candidate won or not, you might be suffering from what could irreverently be called PESD. Yes, we starting something here. Post-election stress disorder. Now, in the UK, it happens to be Mental Health Awareness Week. We took that excuse to invite back the mental health group that was with us on HOT last October 28th, when it was Mental Health Awareness Month in the Philippines. They're here to share with us some insights and information on how to roll with the punches in these exciting 7,100 plus islands we call our home, the Philippines. Heard on Thursdays, Nykko Bautista, the Community and Organizational Development Unit Head of MentalHealthPH, and Marie Felipe, Learning and Development Officer, Guidance Office and Educator of Mental Health Philippines. Welcome to the show.
Hi, guys.
Hey, good evening. Welcome. Thank you so much, Marie and Nykko, for joining us on the show today or this evening. So very interesting to have you with us also during these times. But before we go into our PESD talk, Nykko and Marie, what have you been doing since the pandemic that isn't work related? Something that you caught on, like with a hobby or a binge? Go ahead, whoever wants to start.
Well, for me at least, that's actually the time wherein I joined MHPH. So I think
okay.
So at the start of the pandemic, I was very anxious. I think everyone was. And I tried to direct my energies, I guess, to something that's productive. But obviously, the other hobbies, crochet, can't really do that. Learning a new instrument, can't really do that. So I said, why don't I just use my skills for something else? So eventually, I stumbled upon MHPH. I've actually been active in their Usap Tayo platforms or programs in Twitter. So I am actually familiar with the organization. So when they opened a position, I immediately applied. So I guess a lot of or at least my new experiences during the pandemic really focused more on volunteer work. So I guess pretty productive, you can say. But more on the leisure side, I started to watch more anime, I guess.
Love it. More anime while also doing some volunteer work. Love it. But how about you, Nykko?
Well, on my side, more of volunteer work then. I didn't really, because it was really hard during the pandemic, because you were like inside just like one room. Well, actually not just one room. Inside your house, you're physically limited. You don't get to talk to a lot of people. So you have all these stresses. You have this energy inside of you, and yet you can't like help out. You can't like go out and have fun. So what I
Right.
did was to volunteer with a lot of other organizations. I'm using my background, so hindi na siya work related. That's different. So so I volunteered in community pantries in different what do you call this, COVID isolation facilities. So medyo pasok pa rin with
Wow.
work and all. So yeah, and yeah, continue pa rin with ano, with advocacy with mental health PH. Leisure side, I can't say that it's leisure though, pero I found it as a hobby. So I went back to cooking. So
Mm.
syempre before when the pandemic was not yet here in the Philippines, syempre we had like super busy schedules. We didn't have really time to spend inside the kitchen. So just like pass by the kitchen, but I just get water, just get something fast food. Now I had like time to cook, and yeah, yun yung naging lalagyan ko ng oras throughout the whole
Mhm.
pandemic.
All right. So for Nykko naman, it's cooking and also some volunteer work.
Mhm.
Now, for some post-election stock, let's go
Mhm.
ahead. Um, how engaged were you in terms of campaign season? Did you find it affecting your mental well-being also when you started to see posts online from both camps? Actually, not from both camps, from many camps, because there
Mhm.
we
Mm-mm.
did have several candidates, of course. But how engaged were you during this particular election season?
Well, so yeah, let's start with me. With the election season, kasi I must admit, um, sa first days or first months, well, not really the election season itself, but then yung
Mm,
parang start pa lang na parang they are putting out hints out there na parang,
Mhm.
oh, I'm
right.
gonna run for this certain position. I was kind of not that involved because I didn't want to endorse a candidate. Endorse? Wow, endorser. I didn't want to I didn't want to really focus on one candidate agad because I
Mm,
want to see what can these candidates
Mhm.
offer and
yeah.
what are their plans for the
Mhm.
country or for our locality. So I spent some time checking out their credentials, checking out their programs and all. And
Mm,
then after that, once I already saw like a certain candidate um to be like the best one for me, I kind of involved myself with their campaigns. Not really part of their campaign team, but then trying to volunteer out. Trying to offer what I can give to them. Like as a doctor, I tried to volunteer out in their medical missions. And
mhm.
when the campaign period started to progress nearing the election date, so I got a little bit more involved. So that's the time when I started flyering. I started going house to house, trying to talk to people, trying to introduce the candidate that I was supporting. So there.
Mm.
Mhm.
All right. How about you, Marie?
Similar with Nykko at the start when the candidates were just filing, no? Parang hindi naman sila sabay-sabay. So I wasn't really sure pa sino
Mm-mm.
talaga. So like I think late last year, wala pa talaga akong any posts about a certain candidate. Like I wasn't urging a certain person din na, sana ito tumakbo or anything. So I kind of waited it out, tried to also watch debates, see the
Mhm.
platforms, read more about them. And eventually, when I evaluated every single candidate, I figured, okay, so this is the one that I would like to support. So, like Naiko, I also was a little bit more engaged towards the end siguro ng campaign season. And yeah, so I also did house to house. I talked to people, no, tried to also ask them and discuss really. Hindi
Yeah.
naman pinilit or anything. Pero like discuss din kasi habang hindi ka pa naman nagvo-vote, there's still a chance for you to really evaluate naman kung sino talaga yung gusto mong iboto.
True.
So, healthy discussions, 'di ba? And like what I said no earlier then, kasi I teach, no? So I teach. I also talk to my students about it, 'di ba? If they ask, then. So yun, parang healthy discussions lang talaga. And I guess yun naman ang important, no? For us to be able to put out there why we're also voting for this person and why we think they're the best person for that job.
Mm-mm.
So,
True. All right. And so your group, Mental Health PH, you're a representative of many companies, and or many companies have consulted with you as well in the past. Companies, organizations, teams in the country. So that also means that they're composed of members of diverse political beliefs and affiliations. Also, so how did your group, your own group, deal with this diversity, Nykko?
Well, with mental health PH, well, actually, not just like mental health PH, but generally in the workplace. Like we have like separate groups, diba? We have to compartmentalize these groups. When you are interacting with a group of people, the thing that we practice in mental health PH is try to be like a mature person and try to make sure that every conversation is logical, no? So whenever that we talk about politics, we wouldn't want to focus on a certain candidate or focus on trying to bring down the candidate that the person that we are talking to is endorsing, something like that. So our main focus is to discuss what are the plans,
Mhm.
what are the background of what's the background of this certain person, and if
Mm-mm.
ever na may dissenting or parang merong parang off with that,
Mhm.
the mature thing to do is to acknowledge that we are individuals, right? We have our own opinions, but not just like respecting the opinion of that person, but then trying to know where that person is coming from. So
Mhm.
you can
Right.
start the conversation. It's not just like dropping the whole conversation na parang, "Ah, okay, sige, let's stop. That's yours na
Mm-mm.
eh. This is mine." It's not like that. So we try to still push through with the conversation,
Mm-mm.
pero try to know where is this person coming from. Paano mo nasabi na ganito yung ano, yung side na pinapanigan mo, parang gano'n.
Mm-mm.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And sometimes, well, a proper discourse, that's the ideal situation, no? Pero most often it's hard to accomplish for sure, especially if you have opposing ideologies na rin.
Mhm.
So I want to know also for Marie, when when you have, like, for example, if there's a partner, if there's a spouse, your significant other, your best friend or close family member, they express a political view that's
Mhm.
diametrically opposed to your own, like, how do you go about it? How do you approach that conversation?
I think first it's important to understand relationships muna, no, with that particular person. So if let's say it's a somebody who is very significant to you, a boyfriend romantically involved with, diba, asawa, no. So you do know that that relationship is not just based on your political views, diba? It's
Mm.
based on love. It's based on mutual respect. There is communication. So I think given that there's a big foundation of that relationship, you should be able to convey your thoughts and feel that it is a safe space and a conversation for you, 'di ba? You have that feeling na hindi ka aawayin, 'di ba? If you're going to talk about it. Because I do understand and I do know some people, no, that close family talaga, immediate family members, 'di ba? And even spouses and like what I mentioned, even mga BFFs, 'di ba? So
Yes.
I guess it's very difficult din kasi to generalize na everybody can actually have um, a, a communication or at least a conversation na hindi sila magka-clash. You can't expect that din naman from everyone. Kasi we're human. No? So
Mm.
may mga emotions tayo minsan na lumalabas. But I always believe, no, if we're talking about you and somebody who is significant to you, whom you've built a certain relationship with, there is that mutual respect din kasi. So you should be able to convey your thoughts without having to feel that you're attacking that person and you're also
Right.
being attacked, 'di ba? So mahirap siya. I mean, no doubt. Mahirap talaga siya. And I think ito ngang whole election, not just on the actual day, no, pero during the campaign period, ang dami nang lumalabas talaga ng mga issues, I guess, no, and a lot of opposing views. And a
Mhm.
lot of people started to burn bridges. I'm gonna be honest. I know a lot of people who said na, okay, unfriend kita, di ba? Or
Yeah.
okay, bye. May ganun sila eh. Pero yun nga, sabi ko, if it's really a relationship, then you would be sensitive enough then to
Mhm.
understand the other person. So during this post elections, for those who have family members or somebody very close to them, no, na magkaiba kayo ng binoto, diba? And obviously, magkaiba kayo ng gustong candidate. And let's say one is more pleased with the results, no? Then also respect that the other person may not share that victory with you. Diba? Na
Mhm.
hindi siya pwede maging happy-happy with you. Kasi syempre, iba nga yung binoto niya eh, diba? And I'm pretty sure nag-invest din naman siya ng time, 'di ba? May emotions din siya kasabay nung campaign na 'yon. So, uh,
True.
that's something that's very important eh. Kaya nga parang siguro that's also something that we can check, no? Na parang there are some people that obviously are opposing our views and minsan nakikipag-away sila and all. But we have to ask ourselves, how important is this relationship ba to me? Kasi if
Yeah.
important ako sa'yo, dapat naiintindihan mo din and sensitive ka rin with how I'm feeling. And let's not be afraid to say that, no, na,
Yeah.
okay, I'm really not in the right headspace right now. I understand that you're pretty pleased, with the results. You're probably celebrating. But give me time, give me space. No, I don't think I'm ready to talk about it. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're
All right.
if you're a good friend, na lang, di ba? If you're a good friend, if you're a loving boyfriend, a husband, wife, then you would respect that and you would try to offer as much support as you can, no, to that
Yeah.
person while they are going through their feelings. So mahirap
True.
siya. Again, mahirap siya.
Yeah.
Mahirap siya. But it's something that we have to, we have to address it. Because
Yeah.
I think everybody has their own experience with that.
For
Yeah.
sure. And it's a really a very it's hard to yeah, it's hard to navigate your way around it when
Mhm.
you've been rooting for one person, but it doesn't happen. Or yeah, so it's just like it's troublesome, but sometimes you have to get through it, especially if it's relationships that you really do care about. And I like that you brought up the whole unfriending thing, because if anything, that has been like probably the most popular
Uh,
uh, like trending thing that's been going on in social media. And I want to know from both of you, Nykko and Marie, um is it recommended for you to unfriend for the sake of your mental health in during these times, because of the results that came out, because nagsilabasan na yung like parang true colors ng
colors,
particular.
yeah.
Oo. Oo, may mga nagtatago pa before.
Pero ngayon, lumabas
Oo.
na nga sila, yeah.
Oo.
Siguro with the idea of unfriending, we understand where these people are coming from. Na
Mm,
parang sobra, totoo naman, we are at the peak of our emotions, 'di ba? And
Mhm.
because we, just like what you said, we strongly believe in these people, and we invested a lot of time, a lot of
Yeah.
effort for this election because we know what's at stake, 'di
mhm,
ba? And we know that our voice should be heard. That's why we
Mm-mm.
voted, 'di ba? Pero one thing that you have to look into dun sa pag-unfriend mo is if you are at the peak of your emotions, parang don't make like drastic decisions. Like
mm,
Yeah.
don't make decisions na parang syempre hindi mo alam kasi you had like these emotions inside of your head, 'di ba? Pero it could like really affect the things in the future, no? Pero we understand. Totoo, mahirap, sobrang hirap talaga niya. But then siguro before you make these decisions, take some time, be a logical person, be mature about it. And no, don't just shrug it off, no? Kasi there are really some people who are worth unfriending.
mhm,
Let me tell you. There are some people who are worth unfriending and you know that you can live for the rest of your life not being associated with these people.
mm,
But then you have to make sure that your decision is backed by not really evidence but by logic, na parang alam mo talaga, okay, kaya ko mabuhay nang wala tong taong to.
true.
For kasi you always have to think about your mental health then, kasi it's the
Mm,
same thing as like trying to help out other people. If you know that you yourself hindi ka you're not complete, or you are less than ideal, you can't help out other people, or you can't be of service to other people. So
Yeah.
same thing, if you think that
mm,
this person doesn't really give or bring out the best in you in the near future, like what's the sense of trying to connect with this person anymore? Pero it's a totally different thing when it comes to family, diba?
mhm.
So I
Mm.
don't know. Are we gonna talk about that, or should I dive into it already?
Well, I mean, that's definitely a tricky subject for sure. But I would just
Mm,
recommend mute their posts, but you don't have
mhm,
to
mhm.
unfriend
Yes.
them.
Or
When it comes
unfollow
to that, oh
actually.
yeah,
You
go.
can unfollow.
Yeah,
So that's
mute,
why you don't
unfollow.
see their posts. Para hindi
Yeah.
naman nila ma-feel na, ay, okay, na-unfriend ako. Kasi
Or
Yeah.
some
they won't know
people,
naman eh, na in-unfriend ka eh, until they look at the list.
oo, totoo naman.
Pero you know naman in the Filipino
Oo.
context or culture, very tayo very what do you call this, family centered,
Mm,
'di ba?
Mm-mm.
And well, pwede ba tong sabihin? Wait lang, hindi, like the idea is parang especially for the young ones, nasa culture kasi natin na parang if ever that you kind of medyo nudge a little bit with your with your freedom or your liberty, may mga old generation or may mga
Mm-hmm.
people from the old generation who might get offended with that. 'Di ba?
Mm-mm.
So you have to go back to the idea na okay, family member, try to separate the idea kasi syempre you've been with that person for the longest time. That's part of your
Mm-hmm.
family. It's inside
Mm-hmm.
your household, 'di ba? Siya yung nagpunas ng butt mo when you like nung bata ka and everything. You had a lot of experiences with this person. And you have to, I think, you have to compartmentalize nga. You have to separate the idea of this is politics, this is the family member that I love. 'Di ba?
Mm-mm.
Parang ganun. Pero kung talagang mahirap na, ask
Mm-hmm.
for help. Ask for help, talk to people, ano ba yung okay dito? Or try to have a mature conversation with that family member. Kasi
Yeah.
siyempre parang you try to make that family member realize din na parang this is a big relationship or this is a big decision that I'm gonna make. So we
Mm-mm.
might as well talk about it, di ba? Parang dapat two-sided if ever man na you're gonna cut whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Now, in relation to um, post-election stress disorder, what are some tips that you can share on how to deal, not necessarily with talking to other people or having a discourse with them, whether it be positive or negative,
Mhm.
but how to just deal with everything that you see online from whichever camp you're from, like
Mhm.
how to deal with this kind of stress or anxiety that people are experiencing right now.
Well, generally, I guess, not just with what you're seeing on your social media, di ba? Pero yung alam mo na, di ba? Yung kahit hindi ka mag-scroll, there's that feeling. And maybe from news na you have an idea already of what the turnout would be. So kahit hindi ka mag-scroll, you're already feeling all of these emotions. No? So dun muna tayo sa unpleasant emotions. So,
Mhm.
for those who are feeling very disheartened, those that are feeling very down, no, for the past few days, that is completely normal. Okay?
Yeah.
And I tell my friends that you have to go through it. Okay? You have
Mhm.
to feel those emotions. You have to really feel it. Hindi pwede kasing i-shrug off mo lang siya.
Mm, walang
Hindi pwede,
shortcut dun.
hindi talaga. And I don't know if you guys been seeing the posts about how they're comparing this with the 5 stages. No? Yung
Yeah.
DABDA. Yeah, right?
Mm-mm.
Diba? So, may denial, may anger, tapos may bargaining, everything. So, people are saying, nandito pa lang ako. Nandito na ako sa bargaining. And some people will say, I think I'm still in the anger part, diba? And um, it's been what? Thursday pa lang. So, wala pang isang linggo. Hayaan natin yung mga sarili nating huminga.
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Pakiramdaman natin yung mga sarili natin. And let us not compare our own feelings with others. Let's also not judge other people's feelings. Pag may nagsabi sa'yo, ako nasa bargaining na ako, ano ka na, mag-move on ka na din, 'di ba? Dapat nandun ka na sa stage na 'yon. We can't really do that kasi again, we're individuals, we're humans, we have our own emotions. Own pace talaga siya, no? And I think you've also been very active naman on social media. You've seen a lot of people who are reacting very differently, no,
Yeah.
with the results. Some people are very angry. Some
Mhm.
people are happy, diba? Very celebratory ang posts nila. Some people naman became, well, at least in my view, no, parang naging walang pakina. Parang
Mhm.
ayoko na. Parang ganon. Parang
Mm-mm.
gusto ko na
Yeah.
mag-detach from this. So if you know somebody who's not exactly feeling the same way that you do, you have to understand that they're also going through this at their own pace. Diba?
Yes.
So hindi natin pwedeng, we can't take that against them, to be honest. No? You can't say that, oh, bakit nung campaign sobrang engaged natin, sobrang involved natin, di ba? Bakit ngayon you're feeling disheartened? Diba? So we can't say that kasi hindi mo rin naman alam yung pinanggalingan niya. Hindi mo alam kung ano yung nararamdaman niya. And
Yeah.
for others, maybe the fact that they are feeling, well, not exactly feeling better, pero siguro nandun na sila sa point na, okay, I'm going to feel upset about this, but I can still do something. Diba? Yung
Mhm.
parang nagiging productive na agad sila. Let's not also push ourselves na, ay, kailangan ganun din ako. Diba? Kailangan maging okay na ako. I need to go back to what I'm doing. Diba? And I need to maybe volunteer again. I need to interact again with people that I've been talking to during the campaign period, etc. Again, no, we're individuals. Let's go through this in our own pace. We don't need to rush. Again, guys, wala pang 1 week. No, ayan. Take a breather. Take a breather. Okay. So that's very important. Feel and go through your emotions. Okay? Let me add another thing siguro no, for on what you can do to address yung PESD. Look at the bigger picture din. Kasi syempre we're now really just focused more on the results, 'di ba? So
Mhm.
focus na tayo doon and lahat ng reactions natin is towards that.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at the
Yeah.
bigger picture, okay, the elections is yes, it's 1 day, and definitely whoever gets elected there, malaki ang magiging epekto niya sa atin for the next 6 years, right? But we have to ask ourselves, and we have to remember din kasi that our votes, or at least that responsibility of us to vote as a citizen, it's only 1 day, but our responsibility to the country continues, 'di ba?
Right.
Our responsibility to our advocacy continues, to the issues that we are fighting, 'di ba, about, to the issues that we want to push. So, ang dami pa nating pwedeng
Yeah.
gawin aside from just vote.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, if you feel that you are ready to face that again, diba? Maybe there was something in you that was awakened during the campaign period. I'm gonna be honest, no, Nikki and Naiko. I feel like this whole campaign period changed me. Parang I felt like ang dami kong pwede palang magawa in a sense, na ang dami palang connections na pwedeng mabuo for me to have a wider reach para
Mhm.
mas matulungan pa yung ibang tao and to continue our advocacy no and MH. So I feel like it's good for us to also reflect kung ano yung naging change na yun in us. Kasi
Yes.
even if natalo yung candidate na binoto mo, hindi naman mawawala na yun eh. Parang it's in you already eh. So there was some form of change in you, whether it's hope, nag-spark ba
Mhm.
yung hope sa'yo, whether
Yeah.
bigla kang namulat sa spirit of volunteerism, diba? Whether you started a movement or something. So it's still there. Diba?
Yes.
True.
And just make sure then that if you want to get involved in it and when you're ready to pick yourself up and start continuing the work, yun nga yun, diba? Start continuing the work, you also have to make sure that you really are okay at that point. Kaya
Yes.
I think the first one talaga would be go through the emotions. Kasi ang daming pwedeng gawin to address PESD. There's a lot of coping strategies that you can utilize, di ba? Ang dami mong pwedeng kausapin, you can be involved in so many things. But these will not be possible if you're not in the right headspace, no?
Yeah.
If you're still a wreck, di ba? So, focus muna, no? Focus muna on your emotions and yourself. And then from there, dun mo isipin kung ano na ang gagawin ko. Kasi hindi naman tayo magsa-stop being Filipinos after the
Yes.
voting, 'di
Yes.
ba? We're
True.
still here and we can still do something. And I think sobrang nakita natin yun during the campaign, 'di ba? That we are actually capable of service or being of service to other people. We are capable of making a change, 'di ba? And that's
Yeah.
not just solely the job of the candidate, right? So, kaya I hope people who are feeling down, disheartened, and but were very engaged no during the campaign. Um, take a break, rest muna, pahinga. I'm sure sobrang napagod kayo during that time. And hanggang ngayon siguro you're probably grieving, no? You're probably very
Yeah.
upset. But remember, we started something, even before the elections, baka may mga advocacies na tayo na pinupush. We can still continue doing that. And
Mhm.
responsibility pa rin naman natin siya. So it goes beyond the elections, really.
Yeah. Thank you, Marie, for that. And is there anything that you'd like to add to that also, Nykko?
Well, main thing lang din is parang you have to learn from the experience itself kasi it was really a roller coaster of
Mhm.
emotions. We had a lot of things happening even before the campaign, during the campaign, and yun, katulad nga ng sabi natin ngayon, like we have the PSD, di ba? So parang we can just like let that experience pass through or pass by. Make sure that you learn something from it, and
Mhm.
then use that experience or your learnings to grow as a person, 'di ba? To help out more people. Totoo nga yung sinabi ni Marie, 'di ba? Na you may already have like these advocacies even before the campaign period. And now with these new skills because of the campaign skills ba talaga or parang with these experiences, 'di ba? Parang you realize something in you and you can use that to be a better person. And if yung sa idea ng para dun sa mga natalo yung candidate na ano na sinusuportahan, all the more that you should be like ma-push ka to do something, right? Pero
Yeah.
hindi ka pinipilit ng mga tao to do something. Kasi it depends eh. It depends on how involved you were during the campaign, what the reasons were, or ano yung nakuha mong learning doon sa sa experience. Pero since kung ang nandun ka sa side na parang sayang, sana ito lang yung nanalo para mas okay. Now, the responsibility hindi lang naman nandun sa leader eh. Hindi
Mhm.
lang naman dun sa binoto.
Yes.
You are part of the Philippines. You are part of a lot of communities. All the more that you need to get involved, all the more that you need to help out to make sure na hindi na sayang yung
Mhm.
pagtulong mo para dun sa pagkapanalo ng isang candidate. Kung hindi siya nanalo, tayo naman yung titindig. Parang ganun.
Mhm.
Wow, there we go. Those are how you can heal and how you can move forward with the results, and I guess with the results with the manual counting also that we're
Mhm.
waiting for, and how to deal basically with PSC or post-election stress disorder. Good evening, monsters. This is Heard on Thursdays. I got Marie Felipe and Nykko Bautista from Mental Health PH. And now we're talking just in general now about mental health. So we talked about post-election stress disorder, got that down. Hope you guys learned a thing or two. And remember to take your time, take a break, like what my Facebook is telling me. It's been showing Asian homes for some reason. It's telling me something. Take a break down. Well, anyway, maybe I should. But with regard to mental health, again, let's move forward. Um, in terms of, you know, the term letting go, probably still in relation to PSD. Like, does letting go actually mean giving up on your convictions?
Hmm,
Let's go with Nykko.
with letting go, I don't think that letting go really is the right term to
Mhm.
use for
Okay.
for trying to move from from this situation to another. It's more of moving forward. Diba? Those are
Mhm.
two different things. Letting go is like you shrugging off, like
Yeah.
lifting something. Moving forward is taking things with you towards the next part of your journey or to your next chapter, diba? So
Mhm.
parang um does it mean na parang bibitawan mo na ba talaga lahat? It's more of selecting the things that you are going to carry to the next chapter. Just like what I
Right.
said earlier, di ba? Na parang you have to learn from the experience. You just can't just like, okay, bahala ka na dyan. Move na ako sa next phase ko. Like, I want
Mhm.
to be this kind of person na. No.
Mhm.
You have to pick out the good things and learn from the bad things that happened and then move forward.
Mhm.
It's not just like moving on kasi ang moving on maaaring you are moving on to the other side, moving on backward. Moving forward is developing, 'di ba? You are
Mhm.
growing as a person. So parang ganun yung direction dapat natin. Kasi if you move backwards, mahirap 'yon. Hindi siya cha-cha, guys.
Mm. True. True. Yeah.
All right. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Marie?
And I agree with Aiko, no, na parang the term kasi letting go.
Mhm.
The fact that you are involved in this because you're a Filipino, you're here, 'di ba? Dito ka nakatira, hindi mo siya I don't think you can let it go, 'di ba? Parang hindi mo completely mabibitawan yun eh. So, I agree with Naiko na moving forward really. And it's more about um letting yourself acknowledge din na, okay, sige nangyari 'to, eh, 'di ba? So, hindi mo rin naman siya puwedeng sabihin na, "Ayoko na," 'di ba, that's it. So, you have to acknowledge that it happened. You have to acknowledge that your candidate did not win, 'di ba? And you have to acknowledge that there is still work that needs to be done. So, yung letting go, kung yun ang ibig sabihin nun, yung you just, okay, kalimutan mo na siya or tama na, wag ka na malungkot diyan or whatever, you shouldn't. I firmly believe, no, this is me again, I firmly believe you shouldn't give up on your convictions kasi this is who you are even before the elections. You were probably involved in a lot of things prior the elections. And maybe you were actually involved in more, 'di ba? Baka yun nga, marami ka nang nakita during the campaigns, you met a lot of people, you got involved in so many projects. So, wag mong sayangin yun kasi nasimulan mo na siya. And
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was a purpose why you even joined, and there's a purpose why you got involved in the first place. No, so we weren't pushing just so that our candidates would win, but we were pushing for real change and real progress. And we
Mm-mm.
can still have that. No? So guys, don't let go of your convictions. No? Pahinga
Puso ko
lang.
yung Elsa.
Sabi ko nga, pahinga lang. No? Pero
Bakasyon na lang
tuloy
muna.
pa rin.
For sure. I want to know now, Naiko and Marie, what drove you both into becoming a psychologist or a psychiatrist or focusing your career on mental health?
Do you want to start?
Naiko, Naiko.
Sige. With mental health PH kasi, like yung super back story niya, like parang pinaka mabilis na na thing. I was just invited by the organization to host in one of their events. And then
Oh,
ako as a bida-bida person, like I had a lot of comments. Pero not the comments na parang trying to bring down the prod team na parang, ay bakit ganyan, pangit ganyan. Hindi. Yung parang I was
Mhm.
proposing things na parang, would you want it to be like this, ganyan. So parang from there, they tried to invite me na parang, uy, I think you know some stuff about this, ganyan. And luckily, it was aligned with my advocacy. Na parang, yes, mental health. I am not yet trained as a psychiatrist, but then maybe in the future, hindi natin alam. Pero I started kasi with self-awareness. Kasi I myself am, I had like mental health problems before.
mhm.
And well, actually, syempre hanggang ngayon naman meron pa rin tayo. Meron pa rin tayong dinadala and all. So I had my mental health problems before, and it was really hard for me to find a support group or a community that echoes what I was going
Yeah.
through during that time.
Mhm.
And trying to put that energy into something more productive, I wanted to be the person na nandyan for the people who went through what I was going through or who are going through what I went through, 'di ba?
Mhm.
And not just like being personal with them. Kasi mental health PH is focusing on campaigns din eh. So it's more of community involvement, 'di ba? Focusing on social media. So kasi social media in itself, it's very well, it's a two-edged sword, 'di ba? It can be
Yeah,
toxic, it
for
can be
sure.
informative, but then most of the time it gives us more of parang added stress for some people. Sige, yes, it's
Mhm.
entertaining, we have like information and all, but then nakakalimutan na natin maging tao. No, we are focusing more on these issues and all that we are trying to involve our lives with them, but then hindi naman talaga natin sila na experience. So mental health PH is there to like remind you na parang, oh, take a break, we are
Mhm.
here. I know that it's stressful, no? Then we initiate conversations. We make sure that mental health programs or services are accessible. So, yun. Doon ako doon ako na entice. Kaya pumasok din tayo dito sa mental health PH.
All right. And what about Marie's story? How did you find mental health, or how did you get drawn into this career?
Well, I've always been involved in psych for my undergrad. Psych na siya. Tapos pati yung
Mhm.
grad studies ko, psych-related pa din. So I think ever since, talaga I knew ito na yun. No? So ito talaga yung advocacy ko, which is mental health. But I've always been focused on just my practice, really. So hindi ako gumagawa ng, or hindi ako involved in any volunteer work, etc. But like what I mentioned earlier, na during the pandemic, I wanted to do something. Kasi nga nakikita ko, during that time really, parang nagkaroon ng I would say boom in a way. Pero 'di ba biglang naglabasan yung mga articles about how aside from COVID, there is a mental health crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Na a lot of people are stuck at home, biglang isolated tayo. So online
Yes.
classes, no, completely different kind of stress, work from home again, and being with your family 24/7, 'di ba? Yung bang tao, parang that's one of the challenges that they had. So I was thinking, okay, so there's a lot of issues now about MH, and I think given my skills or at least my experience, baka meron akong pwedeng gawin.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than just participating in Usap Tayo or supporting by sharing their posts and everything, I really wanted to get involved. So before I actually joined MHPH, I was already volunteering for programs ng other MH then, no, yung focus na groups. So they were conducting mga group sessions, no? So I volunteered to become a facilitator, ganyan. Tapos I really enjoyed it kasi even if ako yung FASI and everyone there wasn't exactly related to psych or hindi naman sila MH advocate, parang natutulungan ko na rin yung sarili ko just talking to them. 'Di ba? Kahit na they were actually there as participants and ako yung facilitator nila. Parang feel ko that was my way also of coping. So
Yeah.
I wanted to do that on a larger scale. And I thought to myself, why not join MHPH when I saw na meron silang opening. So, what I like about the organization, and I'm very grateful na that I got to join and I'm involved in it, is hindi kami pare-pareho ng background.
Yeah.
And sabi nga ni Nykko, di ba, host siya dati, nun, kaya siya nakilala, di ba? So, iba-iba kami ng background, but we're all advocating for MH. And we
Mhm.
get to use our different skills. Like, I work with people who have social media, yung mga nag-handle ng social media accounts, yung mga ganon. They're part of comms. A lot of people are artists, di ba? So, ang dami naming pwedeng i-contribute just to push yung advocacy namin ng MH. Kasi let's face it, no, here in the country, MH professionals actually medyo konti lang sila. I mean, comparing it to the ratio of how many
Yeah.
Filipinos that we have, sobrang konti talaga no, ng psychiatrists, psychologists, and MH professionals in general. So, to have a group who is also pushing the same advocacy and they're not even coming from the same background as me also shows din na ang dami palang pwedeng gawin din no, for that particular advocacy, even if you're not from the psych field. So
Yeah.
I'm actually very happy with how diverse, and I think na-mention nga siya kanina, how diverse MHPH is. Kasi we all get to utilize our skills, but we all have the same goal. So, hindi lang kami puro, pag nag-usap kami, hindi lang siya puro psych. So, for me,
Yeah.
pag nag-usap sila, ganun pala yun. But I get to learn more then na outside my field. Pero we all have the same goal, lahat naman ng purpose namin. Isa lang yun, di ba? Isa lang talaga siya. So, we're all working towards a certain purpose, and that is to really push awareness for mental health to fight against the stigma. And we're trying to make it, at least yung services, in a way, much more accessible no, to people who don't have psych backgrounds, definitely. For people that may not exactly have yung access then to social media, diba? Kasi yun din, you know, we post a lot of things online, but let's face it, not everybody has the luxury to go on Facebook all the time, diba? So paano natin ma-reach yung mga hindi nag-online, diba? So yun din
For
yung gusto
sure.
ko sa MHPH kasi we try our best to come up with campaigns and programs that would really extend the reach of mental health awareness.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen it also with like you had a 3S framework
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
3O. Is it a system?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
Process.
self-societal system, and then the way that we try to reach the people. So online,
Mm-hmm.
on ground, and onwards. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it's a very I like how multifaceted the whole process or the approach it is at least in trying to discuss and spread mental health through mental health PH. So I also want to know now that post pandemic,
Mhm.
since rates are our infection rates are very low right
Uh-huh.
now. Do you think that Filipinos have become more accepting about mental health since the pandemic? Because again, it was heightened during the pandemic. But do you think Filipinos locally, is it more accepted these days? Nico, what do you think?
Well, I think we still have like a long way to go. No,
Definitely.
hindi pa siya like, yes, it helped. Well, ang pangit pakinggan na the pandemic helped. But then it made people realize or parang acknowledge that mental health really is something that we have to focus on. Kasi unlike the other diseases, you can easily see the different signs and symptoms of someone who has like a cough, COVID, diba? Like you can easily see it. But then in mental health kasi, it's totally different, 'di ba? Someone
Mhm.
can be smiling and yet that certain someone is undergoing a lot of stress already. So hindi mo siya madaling ma-interpret. Ngayon, yes, namulat ang tao, but then it does not necessarily mean that it is already accepted. No, it's very hard for us to um break the parang yung culture ba ng mga
Mhm.
Filipinos. Kasi 'di ba, hello, Filipino din naman ako. So I think I have the right to say this. But then like Filipinos are generally matiisin in a sense, 'di
Mhm.
ba? Na parang kung kaya ko pa, hindi ko kailangan lumapit sa kahit sinong professional. And there is this certain stigma kasi 'di ba na parang when you go to a mental health professional, ay may problema na 'yan. Parang
Mhm.
ganun. That's what we are trying to promote in mental health PH, na it does not necessarily need, you don't necessarily need to have like certain signs and symptoms for you to talk to a mental health professional, to your
Mm-hmm.
guidance counselors, to your friends. It's totally normal, diba? That's why we have like mouths for us to speak, and we have like friends who have ears, or we have like these people who have ears for them to listen to us then, diba? Kasi one thing that we also have to acknowledge as Filipinos is hindi ka lang naman nag-iisa eh. Hindi lahat nakasalalay lamang sa iyo yung pag-grow mo as a person. You have these people behind you. You have these people with you. These people in front of you who are there to help you out then. Diba? So let's try to make talking to people or talking about mental health normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is still a very long way to
Mm-mm.
go for us, but then we'll keep on fighting.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
definitely. There's still a stigma for sure. And I know one of the pain points also of mental health or getting help also is the in terms of accessibility and it being expensive. Like there's that
Yeah.
reputation of it being
Mm-hmm.
expensive, like seeking therapy. You
Mm-hmm.
need to, make sure you're well able, financially capable of actually covering for it. So how is this being improved? Is there a way that mental health PH is trying to improve this pain point or alleviate it so that it can be more accessible for Filipinos who can't afford, private appointments, let's say, with a therapist?
Well, basically, mental health PH, hindi naman kami nagpo-provide nung mga services itself. But then we make it accessible to people. So we have this directory all over the, like it covers the whole Philippines. Hindi lamang siya yung parang okay, since most of the people are from like NCR, dito lang yung ano yung mga
Mm-hmm.
services. We have like a super directory wherein you have, it is categorized into like these mental health professionals or mental health organizations or companies that give services for mental health. Tapos it's labeled as kung public or private, if you have to pay for it or if you don't have to pay for it. No, and ang nakakatuwa dito since nung pumasok nga yung ano yung pandemic and naipasa na yung ano mental health law, isang malaking tagumpay for our mental health professionals and advocates. Meron ng mga umuusbong or parang we have like new companies or new organizations who already offer certain services that could help out these people who are in need. So it's not a battle that can only be won by just like a few people. Dumadami na ng dumadami ang mga ano mental health advocates natin.
Mm-mm.
That's true. And
Echoing, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Echoing Nykko, no, again, MHPH is just one organization, and madami namang ibang organizations and who are also pushing and advocating for mental health. But I guess we go back na to yung 3S na framework, diba? Self, site, and system. So even if we push and even if individually, like let's say I help my friends, I do, I mean, in terms of my work, I do counseling. Tapos we also try to make services accessible by telling people, okay, ito merong pwede ka magpa-consult, diba? So may center and everything. Pero if the systems in place are not ready for that, diba? Hindi natin siya completely pwedeng baguhin lang dahil in our individual acts alone, diba? So we understand kasi that yes, malaki naman ang pwedeng reach ng organization, madami naman tayong pwedeng gawin, pero hindi yun sapat no? It's not enough. So actually yung MH law, yes, it was a success, diba? So batas na nga siya, pero ang daming, to be honest, no, ang daming parts pa no, na hindi pa siya completely na-implement.
Yes.
Kasi wala tayong resources for it. No? So we're trying to integrate mental health care in basic health care. Diba? Na gusto natin, pag
Yeah.
may pumunta tayo sa center or pumunta tayo sa isang hospital, hindi lang titingnan yung physical, no? Hindi lang yon. Pero we can also ask services for MH. So in the cities, okay lang kasi hospitals definitely meron naman silang mga psych centers, 'di ba, mga psychologists. But paano yung mga nasa malayong lugar, 'di ba? Paano yung mga maliliit
Sure.
na barangay na meron lang silang maliit na health center? So hindi namimili ang mental health, no? Hindi siya
True.
pumipili ng tao na ikaw lang ang pwedeng maapektuhan nito. Lahat tayo may mental health, di ba? It's the overall well-being of a person. So we're all vulnerable to mental health issues. So we should be able to get basic, at least, no, yung mental health services. So that's really one of our campaigns, so trying to make MH services accessible. But again, it's not just our responsibility. So we have to acknowledge that we need to work with other people, and hindi lang talaga siya dun sa individual volunteer work, no, that we have.
Mm.
So creating awareness, maybe to answer also yung question kanina ni Nikki, no, to creating awareness was really something din na nagawa talaga nung isolation and the pandemic. Parang
Mhm.
sobrang daming webinars, napansin nyo?
Yeah.
Daming webinars, di ba? Parang MH, webinars, sige, stress, ganyan. But think about it. If you're in a company and you're being asked to attend a webinar, to relieve stress, diba? To talk about your feelings. But that company doesn't exactly support you in a sense na hindi kayo binibigyan ng leaves, diba?
Mhm.
Mm.
Hindi ina-acknowledge na pag may
True.
mental health issue ka, pwede ka mag-leave or pwede siya i-consider na sick leave, diba? If they're still bombarding you with work, diba? So, walang say yung webinar, diba? So that's what we're saying. We can create awareness, we can create programs, we can actually tell people na, hey, may mental health tayong lahat. No? Let's make sure that we address it. Pakinggan natin yung sarili natin, our emotions, keep our emotions in check, etc. But if outside, diba, lahat naman would cause us stress, wala tayong support system, then basically we still feel the same way.
Yeah,
So
we have to
that's what,
translate it into actions.
mm-mm.
Yeah.
And di pwedeng puro webinar lang.
That's very true. That's very true. I actually want to know how helpful these can be, especially in companies that would have hold these webinars, but then their work culture is promoting completely
Yeah.
different
Mm-mm.
kind of environment. So I also want to know in terms of mental health talk. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but there are younger millennials and Gen Z that seem to be more akin to joke about, you
Mhm.
know, trigger warning, of course, that this is,
Uh-huh.
it's about, suicide. Jokingly, they will
Yeah.
do it. But then why do you think that is? It's like for those who are older, I guess, when they hear about it and, it's openly joked like very casually by this younger generation, it's kind of a little alarming. But do you think there's also a reason behind, why they can joke about it? Just out of curiosity, like I've also wanted to know.
Mhm.
Well, when it comes to suicide, it is never a joke. No, it is it is something that you never joke about. So some people they just like say na parang oh okay, so yeah nagpakamatay ganyan tapos parang tawa-tawa and all. Pero it's something serious eh, no? So for some people they take it lightly, pero for some people it might be a call for help already, no?
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
So that's why we have to acknowledge these things. And the sad thing kasi with the idea of talking about suicide, it's very taboo
Mhm.
for a lot of people. Now when we talk about suicide, parang, uy, wag natin pag-usapan.
Mm. Mm.
That's too sensitive. But then how are we going to understand where this person is coming from?
Yeah.
How are we going to understand why this person wanted to like joke about suicide? Because it's
Mhm.
not something that you have to joke about. It's ending one's life, right?
Mhm.
And that's kind of like the end of everything. So hindi siya ano, it's permanent, no? It's not
Mhm.
something that can just change after parang, okay, hindi ko na pala feel, balik na ako sa buhay. Baby, hindi yun nag-work ng gano'n. We don't
Yeah.
have a mortality stone, right?
Mhm.
So, we have to talk about suicide normally, no? Kasi for us to raise awareness, no, for us to take action regarding these jokes, we have
Mhm.
to make sure that this is not something that's iffy for people to talk about or very taboo na parang, wag na natin pag-usapan kasi parang mahirap yung ganyan. Parang it's too
Mhm.
parang burdensome for the people who are listening and for the person who's gonna talk about it.
Mm.
It should be part
Yeah.
of the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I feel like in terms of talking about suicide, not talking about suicide, I think doesn't help the person
Mhm.
who
Yeah.
needs to let
Mm.
it out, whatever it is that's in their minds, whatever it is that they're thinking about as well. So totally agree with that. I mean, of course, like even on my end, it might feel a little uncomfortable, but then you would do a disservice, I think, to not be able to address it or
Yeah.
kind of just
Mm.
like give the care and
Mm.
give the ear
Yeah.
necessary, I guess, to to just listen and hear them out and might be feeling that way. So is there anything you'd like to add also, Marie?
I think nga, given that even mental health in general is
Yeah.
something that we don't really talk about normally, diba? Parang,
Yes.
paano na yung suicide pa, diba? But Nykko is right, no, na we should make it a norm to talk about it. The thing is, I feel that a lot of teenagers, no, adolescents, when they talk about it kasi, the older people, whether it's a family member or basta somebody na medyo nakakatanda lang sa kanila,
Mm-hmm.
natatakot kasi sila. Natatakot yung mga matatanda na, oh my God, nag-iisip ba siya? Hindi pwede yun, masama yun. Huwag niyong gawin. So, ang ginagawa nila is, they don't talk about it, thinking na if it's not being discussed,
Well,
makakalimutan ng
yeah.
person na yon. Which is definitely not the case. No? Mas
Mhm.
lalo nga siyang, mas lalo niya iisipin. Kasi,
Yeah.
naayuan siya eh, 'di ba? So, nag-open up siya sa'yo, tapos ikaw, sinabi mo sa kanya, wag, coming
Ano
from
yan?
kung saan man siya galing, 'di ba? Pero
Oo.
kung ano man yung values and all, pwede siyang natakot, pwede niyang inisip kasalanan 'yan, 'di ba? So,
Yeah.
dapat or yung mga iba pa na judgmental na bakit mo iniisip 'yan? Parang dami-dami mong blessings, 'di ba? May ganun pa. So, I think when somebody opens up to you about a mental health issue that they have, or even this, no, this very sensitive topic, lend the ear, so lend an ear, listen, okay? And then also keep your emotions in check. Kasi let's face it, no, we can't always help or we can't always give the kind of help that other people would need.
Yeah.
So if friend mo siya, hindi mo alam kung paano mo siya kakausapin, makinig ka lang, 'di ba? Makinig ka. Tapos pag tinanong ka niya, ano sa tingin mo gagawin ko? Diba? So,
Mm.
come from a space na, okay, I care about this person, di ba, importante siya sa akin, gusto ko siyang tulungan, pero takot ako magbigay ng any advice kasi hindi ko rin alam yung nararamdaman niya. So maybe you can refer that person or direct that person to somebody that can actually help them process
Yeah.
their
Mm.
emotions, di ba? So,
Okay.
pwede mo sabihin, you want to talk to someone kasi pwede kitang samahan. Gusto mo bang samahan kita? Gusto mo bang tulungan kitang maghanap? Di ba? Hindi yung, okay, nakinig ako sa'yo, wala akong mabigay na advice kasi hindi ko siya nararamdaman, okay lang yan. Di ba?
Yeah.
Parang sobrang
Yeah.
binitawan ka na, di ba? So, if you know anyone who has opened up to you about their own mental health issues, well, first and foremost, listen and acknowledge their feelings, di ba? And let
Mhm.
them know that you are there to support. But if you know that you're not the right person, no, to actually give the support that they need, direct them, refer them to someone that can. Diba? Kasi that in
Okay.
itself is already you giving them help.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And so for example though, this is also in terms of people who do admit that they are dealing with some mental health issues. Well, what if there are, signs of people who seem to be going through something but
Mhm.
haven't quite admitted, like, they are going through something. What's the right language to actually ask them to
Mhm.
seek help, or just to ask them, yeah, to direct them actually, and like how they can seek help, because sometimes it can be in an aggressive manner, right? You need help,
Bakit ba?
right?
Mhm,
You need a
mm,
therapist,
mm.
diba? So that's kind of like very aggressive and kind of makes them want to push back up, pull away from, like, the conversation. So what is the right way to actually approach it if you don't know what it is that they're going through?
First
Mm,
thing, never diagnose.
mhm.
Like, B. You have to
Yeah.
finish a degree, be a professional before you
Oo,
get to diagnose,
totoo.
okay? Not just because you're best friends with this person, you already know what that person is going through. Na parang, B, feeling ko, ganito yan.
Mm,
Feeling mo lang yon, tanggapin mo, okay? First is never diagnose, tapos start with like open-ended questions, no? Don't it's not an emergency case. It's not something na parang when someone goes to the ER, saan masakit, turo sa akin,
oo.
nagsusuka ba? It's not like that, 'di ba? Start with open-ended questions. Start with kumusta ka? Kung meron kang napapansin na kakaiba sa kanya, make sure that that person is also knowledgeable na may nangyayari nga din kakaiba sa kanya. Start with kumusta ka? Just to start things up, and then from there, if ever man na mag-flow yung conversation, doon ka mag-start na parang may napapansin ako, and if it's okay with you, kung okay lang sa'yo na sabihin ko yung napapansin ko. So you always have to make sure that that person is comfortable talking about the
Right.
things that you're going to talk about. Then from there, sabihin mo yung mga observations mo. Uy, parang hindi ka na masyadong kumakain, or is there something wrong? Kasi magkasama tayo tapos usually ikaw yung nagjo-joke, pero ngayon parang iba na. May ano ba? Meron bang kakaiba? And whenever you talk to that person or parang talk to this special person who's going through these things, make sure na parang you are in a private room or somewhere na that person can really open up to you, no? Kasi parang ang hirap naman pag nasa bar kayo tapos bigla mo siyang linapitan, parang
Correct.
parang hindi ka na masyadong umiinom.
Oo.
Ang mamaya kasi that would limit the person, no, to open up, na parang syempre parang it's a public place eh. It's not just you who I am talking to. It's I am talking to you, pero everybody else can hear, and that person may not be comfortable with that.
Right.
Diba? Yeah.
That's
So yun,
true.
parang siguro something to start the
Mm-mm.
conversation. Pero the rest of the conversation, it will be up to that person, to those two persons, on how it will develop na din.
Okay. What about you, Marie? Anything else you'd like to add to the approach if somebody seems like they need help but haven't really addressed anything yet?
Mhm. Well, I think na-mention na siya ni Nykko lahat. Pero, I guess also you have to gauge ano ba yung relationship mo with this person in the first
Yeah.
place. 'Di ba? Parang kasi if you're close with someone, baka mamaya mas okay yung kind of talk na medyo light sa kanya,
Okay,
na
yeah.
hindi agad serious tone na parang, "Kumusta ka?" Parang napapansin. Hindi agad gano'n, 'di ba? Baka
Yes.
naman that person kasi is very close to you tapos meron talaga kayong language 'no, na
True.
that you use when you're communicating with each other. So use that, 'di ba? So if you want to talk about something first na very light, tapos nun, unti-unti mo na siyang tanungin, kamusta siya? Then, depende din nga on how close you are and what kind of relationship you
True.
have with this person. If you're, for example, on a professional level naman, kind of relationship, let's say, coworker or a boss,
Mm-mm.
'di ba? So kung ganon, I think medyo mas serious ng konti, 'di ba? Pero again, sabi nga ni Nykko, we can't really have a script for it, no? So we just start off with a general question which really shows concern. Yun naman yun.
Yeah.
So we also want to let them know the reason why I'm asking then, and I hope this is something that we get to convey, no? Na I am asking because I notice it and because I care about you. So I want to know how you're doing. And then from there, we don't immediately say, alam mo, tingin ka na ng ano, hanap ka na ng psychologist, hanap ka ng
Yeah.
psychiatrist, dapat magpatingin ka na. Hindi naman natin siya ibobombard ng gano'n. But I think it's also important to ask. After niya magsabi, kunwari nag-open na siya sa'yo, no, you have to ask the question, what kind of support
Do you need?
do you need? Diba?
Yeah.
Kasi
Yes.
you'd also be able to gauge, meron ka bang pwedeng ibigay? Kasi baka naman yung sasabihin niya sa'yo, actually, I'm just really feeling down. Baka nag-break
Yeah.
sila ng ano niya, ng boyfriend niya or something. So gusto lang niya na may kausap and all. So yun lang yun pala, 'di ba? So pwede naman palang i-address at pwede mo pala siyang tulungan ng ikaw lang, na hindi mo siya kailangan i-push na magpa-therapy ka na bigla, 'di ba? So yun.
May contact na ako,
Mm.
tawagan na natin. It's not
Yeah.
yeah.
So yun nga din yung sinasabi naman namin about awareness of MH so that we can have a deeper understanding na hindi porket meron kang mental health issue, it translate automatically to a mental health disorder or something that would
True.
require medication or any form of therapy, diba? Kaya din natatakot yung mga tao kasi pag nag-open sila, isipin nila, ay, magpapa-therapy na ako, kailangan ko na ata.
Naka-i-admit ako, gano'n.
Yeah.
Oo,
They
'di
need
ba?
to be
Yun, natakot
medicated.
sila do'n.
Ganon.
And
Yeah.
they're afraid that other people will judge them for it, no? Mate-taint yung image nila whatsoever. So, let's normalize talking about our mental health issues, okay? And if somebody opens up to you, and if you also feel that somebody may need your help, start with just thinking of what relationship do I have? Okay, I'm a friend to this person or kapatid ako nito. So sige, I'm going to come from that space that I'm a sister. I'm going to
Yes.
talk to you as a sister. And then from there, allow the conversation to flow. And if nakapag-open na siya, then I think you'd be able to gauge naman if you can actually support this person or you can ask them, what kind of support do you need? And if I can really give that, sige, hanap tayo. Tulungan kita. Diba?
All
Yeah, and
right.
add ko rin lang kasi with
Sure.
the idea of sa conversations, kasi these are like verbal things
Mhm.
'di ba? Parang yung may script, sabi nga natin wala naman siyang script 'di ba? Tapos you have to assess kung paano ba yung relationship mo with that person. Pero aside from that, like be sensitive,
Mhm.
when you are talking to that person,
Right.
yung boundaries ba? No? Kasi katulad ng sinabi ni Marie kanina, parang, okay, assess your relationship kasi alam mo kung hanggang saan ka lang dapat.
Mm.
Hindi ka nag-overstep. Na parang, nakausap lang kita dito sa bar, tapos bigay ka sa akin ng ganitong advice. Pero aside
Mm.
from that, is yung pagiging sensitive natin. How do we become sensitive? So, parang we have these two things. We have sympathy and empathy. No? These two are totally different. Malapit yung spelling, malapit yung pronunciation, pero totally different. Sympathy is more of feeling for that person. I'm feeling sorry for you. Oh,
Mhm.
nakakaawa ka naman. Parang, okay, you wanna talk about it. It's totally different di ba? But then
Mm-mm.
when it comes to empathy, it's putting yourself into the shoes of that person. If you think that that person is undergoing this kind of stress, di ba? How would you want to be talked to? Yun yung isang bagay na you have to think about. Parang paano if I am that person, gugustuhin ko ba na i-approach ako dito sa
Mhm.
place na 'to? I-approach ako with a very high note na parang, "Uy best, kamusta ka na?" Would you want that? So parang para lang maano mo, para ma-gauge mo. Kasi there are a lot of people, like I tell you, there are a lot of people who want to be like mental health advocates and all. That's very good, no?
Mm.
Pero they are very kind of pushy sometimes. No?
Yeah.
Na katulad nga ng sinabi natin kanina, parang nagbibigay agad ng advice, nagsasabi
Mm.
na parang, oh, hindi ko kaya magbigay ng advice, pa-check ka na agad. Nasa second question pa lang kayo ng conversation nyo. Di
Oo.
ba? So parang if you want to go deeper, if you want to really understand that person, try to be sensitive, no? Empathize with that person. Alamin mo kung saan ba talaga siya nanggagaling. Tapos try to apply it to yourself. Would I want to be talked to like this? Or would I want to end the conversation now? Do you think that that person is already uneasy or uncomfortable with the conversation? O sige, let's tone it down. Tapos let's talk the next time na lang, parang ganun.
Mm-mm.
Mas yung non-verbal cues mo ba, like when you're talking to a person, stop looking at something else, 'di ba?
Yeah,
Or
body language
yeah,
also.
body language,
Oo.
isang malaking thing 'yan sa pag-o-open up ng mga tao sa'yo. I mean, I guess sa sarili din natin, you, Nikki and Marie, 'di ba? If you are talking to someone tapos that person keeps on like looking somewhere else or parang looking at your phone, parang ganyan, parang do you really want to talk to me? Am I
Mm.
really gonna open up with you? Kasi parang you're not interested naman eh. Parang are you just doing
Sure.
this just for the sake that you have this label kung nasa ano tayo, nasa isang show tayo na parang friend.
Oo.
Parang, oh, okay, I am a friend. Parang ganun. It's not like that, di ba? So, yun.
Oh, I'm here for you physically, but
Yeah.
Physically.
Oh, that's totally
mentally,
different.
I'm somewhere
Walang
else.
Yes.
magagawa doon. Wala kang
Oo.
magagawa.
Ay nako. But anyway, thank you so much, Marie and Nykko, for all of the insight you guys have shared in terms of post-election stress disorder (PSD). That's already trademarked, a joke. And also in terms of mental health and how we should normalize, talking about it, and trying to start a conversation, depending again on the relationship that you have with someone who seems to be having, a hard time fairly
Mhm.
recently. And I hope the monsters have also learned a thing or two and how to approach these people even now, also for in light of recent events as well, how to approach these people who might be not be in the best mental state at the moment as well, and are going through or processing their feelings and everything. So
Mhm.
thank you so much, Nico and Marie, for joining me tonight for Heard on Thursdays. Please direct the monsters also on where they can find Mental Health PH, what they can expect also from Mental Health PH if they are looking for help or if they're looking for volunteer work also.
Mhm.
Mhm. Well, you can follow us on our social media accounts. I think we're on Twitter, Facebook, and also we usually post naman yung mga campaigns doon. And if ever we do have any activities, even actually volunteers, no? So kung meron kaming call for volunteers, dun din namin siya pinapost. So please do follow us. And also share our posts. Diba nga, we want to make sure that we have a bigger reach. Diba? So don't just follow us, but share our posts and embody, being a mental health advocate. Diba? So if you're all for MH, then that should also be something that you can apply in your own lives. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and para dun sa access to mental health care, you can check our website. We have a mentalhealthph.org. Tapos you
Mhm.
can just click on the tab na browse directory. If ever that you
Mhm.
for the monsters who are listening right now, if ever na you go to that website, you can see a map, like a map of
Mhm.
the Philippines pointing out kung nasan mismo yung mga
Yeah.
organizations. We also have the directory for for all the mental health services that are in our system. Tapos for post-election stress disorder or our trademarked PESD, no, um, we have different organizations who offer free help ngayon. Kasi they
Mhm.
acknowledge talaga na meron talaga tayong pinagdadaanan ngayon. It's really hard, no, for those people who have like rifts with their relationships with their family members or with their friends. So you can check out on Instagram. We have Mind Nation. So they're
Mhm.
offering like free 1 hour teleconsults specifically for the election period. So yeah, that's one thing na nandito sa ano natin, sa directory natin. Pero others, for other mental health concerns, we have other institutions or organizations who can help you out. So there.
For sure. Thank you so much once again, Marie and Nykko, for all of your help, all of your insight, and hopefully this makes us better mental health advocates as well with all of the advice that you've provided for us tonight. So thank you once again for all the monsters
Thank
who have tuned in. This
you.
has been heard on Thursdays. Anybody you want to say hi to who might be still awake at this hour?
Well, to all my friends who have shared this post, so thank you guys. I think you're listening. So
Oh,
hello to everyone. Hindi ko na kayo isa-isahin. You know who you are. To significant others, thank you for the support, and thank you again also Nikki for inviting us. And of course, let's support MH. Diba? Madami pa tayong kailangang trabahong gawin. Tuloy ang laban, guys.
Yes. Ayan, again, naging host din. Thank you, Nikki. Maraming salamat sa
you
pag-invite
take
sa
the
amin.
lead now. You take the lead.
Here.
It's yours.
And thank you, Nikki, for
All
inviting
right.
us. Sobrang nakakatuwa din kasi we are still pushing for mental health, di ba?
Mhm.
Ang laking tulong din nito. And we really want to give a big shout out to our team, Mental
Yes.
Health PH. I believe that they are listening right now, no? Kasi they are going to post about this in a few seconds, I think. So, syempre, kailangan lang makinig. Pero, hi guys, I'm very proud of you. Lalaban pa rin tayo, titindig.
Mhm.
To my brothers, and Alpha Phi Omega. So I think they're also listening right now. So what's up, guys? And syempre sa lahat ng mga monsters natin, maraming salamat po sa pakikinig sa amin. I hope na meron kayong natutunan, meron kayong nakuha sa ating discussion for tonight. Thank you po.
Thank you so much. And for all of the monsters who are tuned in on the radio or watching live on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube, this has been Nikki Porter for Heard on Thursdays. And I was joined by Mental Health PH advocates. We have Marie Felipe and we have Nykko Bautista. It's been a pleasure, but now we end the show. But remember to keep it always locked right here on The Monster. Bye, guys.
Monster exclusive interview. Monster exclusive interview. Only from Manila's hottest. Monster RX 93.1.